scheduling was screwed up. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the game we all love each and every day. Best discussion, debate, and analysis. That's our aim. That's our goal. That's our mission. You can help it make it happen by hitting the like button if you enjoy the content, even if you don't agree with me. If you enjoy our discussion, please hit the like button. Of course, subscribe. Hit that bell for the notifications. That way you know when we're going live. We have addressed the scheduling mess that exists in 4 of the 5 major conferences. Please check out the videos and leave your comments. We've got a live stream that at the time of the posting of this video had already occurred, but check out the live stream from Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, in which we are addressing your comments and your feedback to the conference scheduling fix that we have for the Big Ten, the ACC, the SEC, and the Pac-12. And there's a reason we did not address the Big 12. And we talk about it right there as well. And we will continue to acknowledge and respond to those comments. So leave your comments there. Now we address non-conference scheduling. It's a mess in college football. Why are individual programs allowed to make their own schedules? It's stupid. It makes no sense. They serve their own agendas. It creates a completely unfair playing field. Boy, was I excited to hear this week that Florida and Notre Dame are going to play in 2031 and 32. I might be dead by then. This is so pathetic and ridiculous that teams are scheduling games 13 and 15 years out. We don't even know who's going to be on the field. There are a bunch of 6th graders right now. The same head coaches most likely won't be on the sideline. The programs, the teams will look completely different. We're supposed to get excited about this. Schedule the season in the off season. Take it out of the hands of the schools. Put it in the hands of a committee different from the College Football Playoff Selection Committee in this way. They don't have complete authority and autonomy. They have to work within a system. The system is very restrictive, and it looks like this. All right. We outlined how we would go to 9 conference games in the Power 5. Therefore, we would have 3 non-conference games. Give the schools 1 game to schedule. They can schedule the FCS in state that they'd like to help out and throw $1 million at for the game. The Citadels of the world, the MAC conference schools of the world, in which, again, the big powers like to get the additional home game, throw the other school $1 million to help support their football program, and beat them up 55-3. Continue to do that for 1 game a season if they would like. Okay, the other 2 games are scheduled by our committee at the Voice of College Football, but they have to stay within these restrictions. Number 1, they protect all the big non-conference rivalry games. Clemson, South Carolina, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, Georgia Tech, Louisville, Kentucky, USC, Notre Dame, Iowa, Iowa State, and maybe a few others. Okay, protect the non-conference rivalry games. All right, next up, everybody plays a composite 500 schedule. I'm going to give you one example of college football being completely unfair, unbalanced, and having no equity in scheduling. USC originally scheduled a 2020 schedule of Alabama and Notre Dame out of conference, 2 of the best 4 teams in the country. That's great. Those make for tremendous TV events. I love those matchups. But because of the screwed up playoff system not being objective and being an invitational, these teams all have to be evaluated against each other. And over the past few seasons, Baylor has competed for a playoff spot. Well, Baylor has not played a ranked team outside of the Big 12, has not scheduled a non-conference opponent that has been in the top 25 since 1995. It's been 25 years since Baylor has played a top 25 team out of conference. USC plays a couple every year, and we're supposed to evaluate these schools against each other? It's insane. Okay. When some people hear my scheduling formula and proposal, they liken it to the NFL. It is similar to the NFL in this way. There is a formula, there's a system, there's a format. Right now, we just have schools running around scheduling games. There is no system, there is no format, there is no structure to it, there's no sense or reason to it. And you know we're all about reason here. We're all about sense, things making sense. It makes no sense right now. Teams just schedule whatever they want. Okay. So it's only like the NFL. So for those people that say, Mark, we don't want college football to be like the NFL. The only way this proposal's anything like the NFL is that it's actually a system. It's a structure. In that way, you could liken it to the NHL. There's a system or a structure to the scheduling. Right now, there's no system or scheduling structure to the scheduling. The teams just go out there and schedule whatever they want 15 years in advance. And a quarter of those games get canceled anyway. We get all excited about Ohio State, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, or whatever the case might be, and they get canceled anyway. Okay, this is what needs to happen. Every team is going to play a composite 500 schedule in conference, and we outlined that. Please check out the videos. A 500 conference schedule, that's the way it should be because the conference schedules are in balance too. But now we're dealing with non-conference games, and those need to come against the composite 500 schedule as well. So forget the one throwaway game against the FCS or the lower shelf of the group of five. The two games that are scheduled by the Voice of College Football Committee, and believe me, they're just schedulers. They are not ruling college football in any such way because they are restricted to this. They need to schedule a 500 schedule. So meaning every team in the Power 5 will play two Power 5 opponents who had a composite 500 schedule from the year before. Is there any way to guarantee that everybody plays a fair and even and equitable schedule? No, that's impossible because we can't see into the future. We don't know what teams from last year that were 9-3 are going to be 3-9 this year, or 12-0 teams that are going to be 7-5. We don't know that because we can't foresee the future. But the committee can look into the future to a certain extent and see which teams are trending up and which teams are trending down. But they have to stay within this parameter, and it's a tightly restricted parameter, 500 scheduling, meaning that if Team A plays two teams in the non-conference, in addition to the one FCS game or group of five game, then they play two opponents whose schedule equaled 500 the season before, meaning a 9-3 team and a 3-9 team, or a 7-5 team and a 5-7 team. Okay, we cannot predict accurately how those teams are going to do this year because that's impossible. But we can bring fairness to the scheduling. That's the way to do it. Now, this is unlike the NFL because the NFL weights the schedule to bring down or make it more difficult or challenging for the good teams from the previous season and to lift up the bottom feeders and make it easier. They schedule easier games for the low-ranked teams, the teams with the worst records, and the teams with the best records play the tougher teams in terms of the games that the NFL is allowed to schedule outside the division and outside of the division that the particular team is playing in the other conference. So out of the 4 or 5 other games that the NFL schedules, they weight down the best teams with difficult opponents, and they lift up the bad teams with easy schedules. We won't do that. Why should somebody be penalized for being great? Or why should somebody be artificially lifted up for being horrible? No, we give everybody a fair schedule, a 500 composite schedule. All right, that's all there is to it. If we stay with the 8-game conference schedule that currently exists in the SEC and the ACC, we can do the same thing. One throwaway game that can be scheduled by the individual team, and then the other 3 games will schedule. Again, it will still be a 500 composite schedule. So those 3 teams that any particular team will play would have gone 18-18 the previous season. Those 3 teams that's on anybody's schedule, non-conference, play 12 games the previous season, so that's 36 games. All those teams are going to be 18-18 on everybody's schedule, so the schedules are fair. Okay. Also, keep in mind that the NFL gains all this publicity, all this attention, all this hype, all sorts of special studio shows on the major networks and otherwise when they release their schedule every year. And I don't understand it. It's the most overrated event in sports, the NFL schedule release. Give me any NFL team, and I'm going to be able to tell you without any thought who 12 or 13 of their games are going to be against. Because, number one, they play everyone in their division 2 times. They play everybody in a round-robin sequence in the division from the other conference. All right? Then the NFL just has to schedule the other games based on their formula of weighting down the good teams and lifting up the bad teams. Okay, so that's no big surprise. Everybody plays the same schedules pretty much every year in the NFL. So I don't know why it's such a big event that the NFL releases its schedule. But in college football, if we're not scheduling games 15 years in advance, we will schedule all the games during the off season. So once the national championship game is played, and actually after the conference championship weekend, we can start working on the next season's schedule. You don't need 15 years to schedule college football games. You can do it in an off season. If Major League Baseball, with 162 games and 30 teams, and the NFL, NHL, and NBA can schedule an entire travel schedule and work it all out when you're talking about multiple games being played each week, if they can do it in a couple months, college football can do it during the off season. And think about this, college football fans. Think about, let's say, May 1st is the schedule release for the next season. The 2021 season schedule to be released in college football on May 1st. It would be like a national holiday for college football fans. The schedule release is on May 1st. Boom! We unveil it, and everybody gets to see it and talk it up. But right now, we've got this patchwork of, oh, we heard that Florida and Notre Dame scheduled for 11 years from now. And, oh, Notre Dame and Alabama are going to play in 9 years, and Ohio State and Alabama are going to play in 13 years. Nobody cares. Nobody thinks about it. It's nice to think about those teams playing, but half of them get canceled anyway, and then the other half the programs are not anything close to what they are today. The schedule can all be created and developed and cemented and released in one off season, and we could have a big college football national holiday on May 1st, releasing the schedule and all talking about, bam, there's the schedule release. And you know what? It's fair. Iowa's non-conference schedule looks very much like USC's, which looks like Alabama's, which looks like Vanderbilt's, which looks like South Carolina's. Everybody's playing a 500 non-conference schedule, and in fact, they're playing a 500 in-conference schedule. If you would like to see me execute this, I will give you a complete college football non-conference schedule if we get this video to 10,000 views. It's going to take a long time for me to create a schedule, but I've done it in the past where I will create an entire non-conference schedule for 2021 that executes exactly what we talk about, except I'm going to have to go back to 2019's records, of course, because 2020 was so screwed up with teams not playing full schedules. So I'd have to go with the example of 2019, for example. But I will build the entire schedule and unveil the entire schedule, and it would have a ton of interesting matchups, meaningful matchups, and fair and equitable schedules across the board. So give me to 10,000 views. Share these videos on social media. That's one way to do it. Get us to 10,000 views, and I will build a 2021 schedule. Same holds true for the conference schedules. Check out those videos. Get them to 10,000, and we will build a college football schedule for you right here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Don't think I've missed anything. We will see you next time.